Welcome to the first annual Wildcat Invitational Tournament 2021 Tournament Report. It was a 2,000-point event, plus the Wildcat, held in Bellevue, Kentucky. On the weekend of September 11th, 2021, the stalwart men of Team Tennessee invaded the bluegrass state of Kentucky. The members of Team Tennessee, on the back left corner, starting with David, Chaos Dave, Brown. Next is Carl Canon, also known as Killer Carl. Next is John the Snake Helton. Then Randy Atchman Atchley. In the front row, Jeremy Nix. The next one over is Jeff the Mask Baranowski. Then Sean Namor Dietrich. And finally, Tomb Craig Borneman. We were very, very fortunate to have our logo designed by the famous science fiction author David Dietrich. I don't know if you recall, but if you've ever played a FASA game or Traveler or any of those types of games, all those illustrations are by David Dietrich. So we are honored to have one of his logos as part of Team Tennessee. It turns out I wasn't carrying just one army to the tournament. That was the benefit of being able to drive. One of the armies I took with us is what I call Goblins United. That was our team army for the doubles event. A lot of these models are some that I painted in the early 2000s, late 90s, and kind of brought together and rebased to kind of give them some cohesion. And some of them I painted just recently, like all of those Night Goblin-looking guys there. The more classic ones, though, are models that I painted. I mean, they were probably, some of them are maybe 15 years old. The next army I was hauling along was my Axe Clan. This is based on Eric Trowbridge's Masters winning army of a couple of years ago. And this army I painted pretty much from scratch. I think there's one unit in there that I'd started a long time ago, and then I just used it as my base level to paint the rest of the army. So I really like how it turned out. I thought it turned out very, very nice. Sean Dietrich made me some skull poles. He also had printed me a bunch of stuff, including the background. And then also had even objective counters that matched the army. So it was overall, I mean, I thought it was a good balance here of painting and modeling and everything else. I mean, I was pretty proud of it. I was chatting with Robert Lesh the other day, and he told me that his son Austin was very, very busy and was not going to have a chance to paint some of his units. So what I was able to do was throw my versions of Undead Army into the box so that he could borrow whichever units he needed to use. The thing is what was ironic is that I had taken some of these models to a tournament that his dad ran about 15 years ago, which was coming full circle back around. So, like Wednesday before the tournament started, Sean called me and said, "Do you have an army that I could proxy this Abyssal Dwarf army and the Northern Alliance army that Jeremy's going to fight against?" And I said, well, I've got an amalgam of painted and unpainted figures. Actually, most of these are painted. Just the big dragon guy for the Abyssal Dwarfs is not painted. But I threw those in the box, so they had some opposing forces to train with. It's just a combination of dwarves and my old undead wolves, my earth elementals, my giants, and of course an unpainted Abyssal Dwarf model. So we showed up for the first game, and who is there but my friend Sean Sims and his friends Joe Cuth. And so this was going to be a fun game. Sean had actually given me, or I bought from him, a lot of the orcs that I used in my army. So very grateful for him. He's always been a great friend, especially online, to help me out. Like if I'm short a model here or there, he always has them. And so just a fantastic person to be around. And Joe was just a delight to play. I believe they were playing ogres and orcs against us. So it was just, they deployed their army as an amalgam group as opposed to each of them kind of separate. So that's why I was a little bit confused. Then I looked at the pictures and realized, hey, those are ogres. All right, this is our doubles army. This is Goblins United. Starts off with 4 hordes of sharp sticks, 4 regiments of rabble, 2 big rock lobbers, a sharp stick thrower, 2 goblin blasters, 2 war trombones, 2 mop-up launchers, Magua, Goblin King with aura of fury, 2 wizards, one with a boomstick and the other one with lightning bolt and bane chant. Carl and I had leaned way too heavily on the shooting aspect because not being able to double and triple up things was not good for us. And so we struggled mightily the whole doubles event, being able to hurt anything with these goblins hitting on 5s. And thank God we didn't have to play Sean Dietrich with his, or Mark Burr with their trident realm. We'd never have hit them. So the first scenario was loot, and as I said before, they mixed and matched their army together. I think that the Orklings were actually screening the ogres, so that was kind of cool. And down here on this end, they had an Orkling unit, a giant, I think that's a crusher, and then a unit of Morax, which is really bad for me. And then in the middle, I guess they had some regular ogres, maybe they were siege breakers even, and then 2 units of Orklings again, and then some boomers, and then a big axe horde, and I'm not sure if, I think it may have had brew of sharpness or something, or it may have just been normal. But, you know, when you only have 1,000 points, there's really not a whole lot of stuff that you can do to with your army. Here the game is proceeding, and the orcs have moved aggressively to take all the loot tokens. A giant and one of the units of Orklings is attacking over here. The Morax is trying to move around that rough ground because it's going to be a pain. The crusher comes on around this end and gets in position to stop whatever I'm doing down here. What I had down here, though, is I had my one of my war trombones was down here along with the one of my favorite units, the Goblin Blasters. So I was trying to do some mischief with them. Magua was over right in the middle, giving inspired everything. And because they aggressively moved forward over here. Carl, up on the extreme left, he moved up aggressively with a unit of his Orklings and his Goblin Blaster and his Wildcat. And one thing I think you'll see on here, and I did not even realize it till was at lunch, that I realized that these guys did not have their Wildcats. There's 2 Wildcats, and mine is down here in the foreground, right along with my Goblin Blaster. And so basically we had a 400-point advantage on them. And I'm sorry, guys. If I would have seen it, I would have told. It didn't even occur to me until I was sitting there eating a hamburger. Because after that, I went over to my box and grabbed 2 models that they could use for Wildcats the rest of the time. Over here, I'd made a mistake with my Wildcat and got him to the point I forgot that his giants could charge as far as they did. So I ended up going ahead and using the Goblin Blaster and the Wildcat to hit into his giants and hit him for a very, very nice 10 wounds. And, of course, then the Goblin Blaster blew up. But I thought that was a good hit on them. And I was just hoping that my Wildcat would survive. In the middle of the table, we perpetually wavered his boomers. It was the silliest thing. Every time we'd get just enough to do it. And the thing is they were so tall compared to the other guys. And then we had some things like the mop-ups and the rock loppers that ignored covers. So we had a good opportunity there to keep dumping on those boomers before they could eviscerate us. On my side of the table, the very beat-up giant charged into my unit of sharp sticks in the woods. His crusher, or crudger, I'm not sure which one he had on those guys, went ahead and charged into the Wildcat along with the unit of Morax. And you can see that my one unit of rabble has went ahead and secured one of the tokens there. And just trying to pinch these guys out so they can't turn around and go get it. Over on this end, it was a general fight. The Ogre Siege Breakers were, I think that's what they were coming down the middle, and that was going to be a problem, trying to get that middle token. Carl's had a really good turn with his Goblin Blaster and did, 15 or 16 wounds to his Axe Horde, and that's amazing because of the Axe Hordes are tough. And so we did a lot of damage there on Sean's side of the table, and then we're trying to figure out how to stop all those Armor 6 guys in the very middle. Over here, my Wildcat retreated as far as it could. It had survived the hindered charge from the Morax, which was good for me. And in my turn, also the giant succumbed to all those spear attacks. One of the little units of rabble had now turned toward the flank of the Morax and the Crusher, and everything else just kind of moved forward. I think that is an Ogre Wizard over there, next to the end of that wall. And I think he was doing some healing and stuff for his army. Over here, the Wildcat caught it in the face again from the Morax, and then the Crusher or Crudger, whichever one it is, I think it was probably a Crudger, went ahead and charged into my spiffy-looking, custom-made Goblin war trombone. You can see here that mass shooting has taken the siege breakers off the table, and I mean mass shooting. I think everything shot at them, even the mop-ups, just to try to get that last wound. The thing is, their leadership's not super high, but they, of course, they're very hard to damage, and that's the big thing. We have some Orklings fighting out with Goblins. That's just what I call a slap fight. And over on the left, I think it's the Wildcat and a unit of Rabble fighting his Orcs. So we're trying to close the door on this end of the table, too. Yes, I lost my War Trombone and my Wildcat, but I was basically the whole army against one unit of Morax after that. Over here, we took the Morax off the table. I think it was a combination of shooting, and then he charged, and then I countercharged. But you can see I've taken like 14 wounds to those Goblin sharp sticks, so I'm guessing that's what happened, that I'd weakened them pretty good on the way in, and then those Goblins took over. Don't really remember what happened over here, except that we kept the stupid boomers wafered the whole time, and ended up winning the game 2-1. I don't know if we killed that unit of Orcs or not. We were just having fun. I mean, we were all just talking and having fun the whole time. But maybe we did kill him. I think maybe we did in the end. But anyway, it was a fun game, and Sean and them are just fun, outstanding players to play against. And I really wish they lived near me so we could play every week. Well, we did win the game, but I did feel bad because I did not realize they didn't have their Wildcats. I don't know if they didn't hear from Jim that Jim said everybody gets one. And I think it was based on if you had a monster slot available initially in the rules pack. So after that, I squared them away. Like I said, I'm sorry, guys. If I would have noticed, I would have made sure you had it, because I don't like winning a game that way. As far as the Goblins is concerned, they did okay. I mean, the thing is that the Ogre army was pretty vulnerable to my shooting, or our shooting, I should say. And that helped us get rid of some of the big units that we had no way to beat in a fight. So this game we played in Ofo, Janitor Holiday, and Scott Rada from, I think it's Rada or Rhoda, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, Scott, if I mangled your name, from Florida. And they had a cabal of evil, no, really, Green Lady and Undead. And it was really hard for us to handle, that combination of all those knights and then the whites on top of that. We had I think Carl was pretty much against most of the infantry portion of his army. And I think most of the fast stuff was actually slamming into my flank. The big issue this game is I did not take very many pictures, and that was tragic, but I was really just trying to concentrate on the game, and sometimes taking pictures is almost an interruption. So it looks like that they had a unit of knights, and the whites are coming around the flank here against my my stuff, and then he had a horde of knights that was just barreling right down the middle of the table. We'd set up with kind of a weak middle, and but we're Goblins. We're kind of weak everywhere, even if we're weak in the middle. So anyway, they're trying to mess around with Carl over there. The infantry and stuff's moving forward. Excuse me. And I think they had another horde of whites over there, and we just could not handle the whites charging into us. Scott used the heal stuff on the Green Lady to stifle us the whole game. Right when we thought we had a unit dead, next thing you know, it would be right back to full points again. And then I think they had heal on one of the necromancers, so it was a deadly combo for us. We count on killing stuff with our shooting, or at least weakening it significantly. But basically, everything that we were fighting was back at full strength by the time that we had to fight it. As well as our Goblin Blasters did the first game, they totally were awful this game. I think I did 1 wound to his knights with my Goblin Blaster. It was just some low dice. Then they paid for, by not killing him, of course, then Magua there, he's going to get slaughtered by a horde of knights. And then the one of his white units goes ahead and destroys my unit of War trombone. I'm sorry, war trombone. One thing that was funny was I don't know if it was his Wildcat. I think it was his Wildcat. Ended up fighting this stupid Goblin rabble unit for like 3 turns, which I thought was hilarious. And then my Wildcat ends up fighting one of his units of Knights, and I just couldn't get them to go down. I mean, like I said, with some of the healing stuff he had, even if it's just one back, I wasn't causing enough damage to really tip the melee in my favor. We paid for our weak center with when one of his units of zombies comes zipping forward. And what's their big thing they're going to do is obscuring us from shooting at the other stuff that's out on the table. So that hurt a lot. That was a good plan. We should have left at least some rabble or something there near them to support them. And like I said, we made a bunch of mistakes this game, and it was not good. Yeah, we pretty much got hammered. I think that's just why it's killing my last wizard. I think he, on top of insult to injury thing, surged into him and couldn't do anything about it. But it was a fun game. I mean, we realized pretty much that our plan of shooting domination was not going to work against an army like that has the heal and stuff. So well played from Janner and Scott. They just kicked our butts, and that's all I got to say about that. I don't know if we were cocky after our first game or what, but we just did not do well this game. And I think our deployment was part of it. We had that nice church to protect our flank, and we should have used that ruthlessly to save it out. A little bit more patience probably with the Goblin Blasters. Carl rolled really bad on his. I rolled horribly on mine. And that did not help us at all because they had done so much damage in our first game that I was kind of counting on them to do something, because really the only thing that could fight in this whole list are Magua and those stupid things. So some of this is list design. Some of it is just my foe's excellent playing. And that's all. I mean, that's all we can say. We got beat, and they played a pretty much flawless game. So on to the next one, but we're still not deterred. We were pretty happy about how we played the first game, and pretty sad about how we played the second game. And so now let's go to the third game. Yep, our hapless goblins up against 2 Tier 1 armies. Mostly the undead were mostly Soul Reaver troops mixed in with some chaff units to get them into the fight. And of course, once those troops touched one of our units, they were just blip and gone. And then over here, Ernie had he was maxed on armor 6. He had 2 units of obsidian golems, and then he had the single guy that's armor 6 too. Plus he had 2 mortars, I believe, and that was not good. And then he had, of course, the Wildcat in this one. So we were going to have to deal with all that armor 6 with nothing. Most of the times we were rolling to hit on 5s and 6s. It was really hard to handle that. And like I said, that's a flaw of our army design. I mean, if I had to do it now, I'd probably drop those 2 catapults out and try to figure out something, either Legates or something like that, just to give us some armor penetration. But little design flaw of the army. I guess we were just hoping for good matchups, and so we'll have to deal with it. Over here, my friend Ernie, he is barreling in to try to get into the fight very quickly, I guess, to keep my shooting from doing too much. But he moves forward. He surges. Everything is moving forward. Carl and I did have a strategy, and I told him, and it's a joke that we have in our club, is if anything has an R, or R has a significant portion of its name, like Soul Reavers, they get selectively shot off the table, and that's what we were going to do. So we tried everything we could to get rid of the Soul Reavers as fast as we could, so that we had a chance at all. Carl's flank was much better than mine, but he got kind of jammed up by a piece of impassable terrain that's there on the left. You can see he's formed a solid battle line. He's got his Goblin Blaster. That might actually be mine. That is my Goblin Blaster. And his War Trombone is there kind of defending this little gap in the middle. We learned our lesson the first game about leaving our middle weak, especially against undead that can surge and stuff. So biggest problem we have is nothing we have can hold up to any of the things they have, so it's going to be hard. Yeah, that is a whole bunch of armor 6 coming at us. He didn't roll really well on his mortars early in the game, but in the end, man, they were just kicking my butt with just some massive bombs coming in. So we were in trouble for sure, especially when he got halfway across the table. And all I could do really was just sit back and shoot and then hope my Goblin Blaster could do something to one of those hordes of Obsidian Golems. You can say here, you see I've set up here for a flank charge with my Goblin Blaster into that unit. I'm just trying to chaff things up. He's got his, I think it's an Infernox. It's an Armor 6 guy that's on a single base back there that's moving forward. And he has Soul Reapers Soul Reapers, whatever they are, Soul Reapers following up on this attack. So this is going to not be good. And so the only thing I could do is I hope I could take out one unit of his Obsidian Golems. And pretty sure our shooting was again subpar, but against all that Armor 6, it's not going to really do much anyway. So, I mean, you can't say you're disappointed. I mean, it should just be about average. Yep, there's a smoking hole where one horde of the Obsidian Golems are going to be. You can see that he has also moved his Wildcat up there to start to shred my flank over here. I have my Wildcat. He's kind of in reserve back there waiting for whatever hits that I could come in and try to hurt him. Because, I mean, he is one of the few armor-piercing things I have. And also, Magua is the other one. So everything else is going to be rolling for 6s and 5s and 6s and 6s, which means I won't do any damage. Carl over here is doing a really good job of jamming these guys up. The biggest problem is now there's 2 of those Soul Reaper guys that are hiding behind the hill, I guess, to keep from getting shot. And at some point, of course, they're going to get committed to the action. Yeah, Ernie's Wildcat slams into my little unit of rabble there. I got to hold back a little bit to see what's coming on because, like I said, you see there's all sorts of nasty stuff coming. I've got rid of one of it, but almost any of those units by themselves can take out these units. Here, Carl is getting face punched by a horde of zombies. I think we hold out pretty well. I think we're fighting zombies over there on the left, and maybe his Wildcat. I'm thinking that's what we're fighting over there in the far corner. And then one of his, we shot off one of his vampire units, and then the other one came in, and now he's getting ready to eviscerate all the artillery that's kind of left there in the middle. So to stop those Obsidian Golems, I had nothing to try except to throw the Wildcat in there. His Infernox comes in and charges into Magua, and he's already got 2 wounds on him. Magua only had 2 wounds on him, so this is going to be a long fight. What really happens here is all of a sudden his shooting just decides to go off, and he starts bombing my damn. I had one horde of goblins that I was they were in the open. I was trying to get him into that big pond, so at least he would have to roll 6s to hit me. But he is pounding them with those mortars. And early in the game, he didn't do anything with them. And all of a sudden, it's like, ouch. Yeah, Carl is desperately trying to get his war trombone, and he had his. I gave him my lightning bolt hero because it wasn't going to do any good against those Obsidian Golems anyway. So I gave him my lightning bolt guy. He had his own lightning bolt guy. And then we had obviously that bolt thrower there, or spear, whatever it's called, spear chucker, and the war trombone coming around trying to kill off this last unit of vampires. Okay, we got lucky and killed off the Infernox, but now we have a horde of Obsidian Golems coming and really nothing to stop them. In the middle, like I said, I'm just getting pounded by shooting but I did get into the lake, so that going to help me a lot by making him have to roll 6s to hit me. So over here, Carl has pretty much cleansed the left flank of Undeath, but it's really too little too late for us to do anything about what's going on the right flank. Okay, I don't have another picture, but what happened was that our concentrated shooting, and I think believe it or not, the Goblins with a few rolls of lucky 6s finally did kill off that last unit of lower Obsidian Golems. And that brought the game. I mean, you see we got figures left, and our figures don't add up to anything. And I'd lost my Wildcat, which was a couple 100 points effectively in the game. And so at the end of the game, we came down to a draw, and it was well-deserved. Like I said, we just didn't have anything to handle the Armor 6 guys. So this is the end result of all this was that probably Carl and I should have stayed with our base armies. He's used to playing Northern Alliance, and I'm used to playing Orcs, which would have been a really good combo, I think, for these team games. In retrospect, I would have probably loaded up on bringing Kingdoms of Men loaded with pikemen just to mess with all these stupid fast-moving knights and stuff. So there's a lot of things we could have done better, but now we kind of know the room and what people like to play, and maybe next time we'll change up what we're doing and come up with a better plan. Main reason I brought the Goblins is because I've been trying to pressure myself to finish painting this army. I've got a massive amount of Goblins. As a matter of fact, while I was gone, even more Goblins showed up in the mail. So I'm just trying to get them painted and throw them back in the box. Hell, I may never use them again, but now at least they're ready to go. They're painted. I could pull them out anytime I want to for battle reports and not worry about them looking terrible. So had a lot of fun in this team tournament. I've had more fun in team tournaments, honestly, than I've had in singles tournaments because there's so much less pressure. It's just you playing with your friends, and that's exactly the way this felt. Getting to play against Sean Sims and them, and against Janner, who I've played before, and getting to meet Ernie, who I've talked to on the internet but never got to meet face to face, and he is just a terrific person. So had a great time at the team event. Robert and Austin Lesh won, and that was very, very cool. They were the father and son team, trashed the field, and that was just absolutely great. They were playing with Vampire Counts and Empire of Dust, I think. So anyway, on to the next day and the singles event.